people of the internet! Welcome back to another live stream assembly. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes have all been greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into tonight's topics, folks. Who's this young brother? I've been hearing about this brother, man. 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony has been released on a $250,000 bond following the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Texas. Of course, folks, this comes from Fairbuck. I did hear about this story. Again, I've been trying to, balance the topics that I speak on in terms of all the doom and gloom. Sometimes I don't like speaking on things that are always just so dark and sad and gloomy and evil and, highlighting all the atrocities in the world. I feel like mainstream media does a good job of that already. But there have been some things, of course, that have been happening, of course, that are culturally relevant. Glad to see this clip here. Honestly, man, from what I've been seeing, let me see this here. Of course, this is Karmelo Anthony, young 17-year-old student, man. All these people are the ages of my nieces, man. And it's always sad when I see young people going through the things that they're going through that I couldn't fathom, man. Let me see here. There's no audio. Young Karmelo Anthony.
We're up.
Can you not approach him, please?
Why were you armed? Karmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Yo. Journalist, bruh. So, interesting fact, of course, as you saw there, I'll share something with y'all. I just recently embarked on. Can I share this? Yeah, I'll share this. It's not too crazy. I just embarked on a journalism course. Started it today, actually, as a matter of fact, as well, too. So I'm taking this journalism course from NYU right now. And this is exactly what off of the course so far. The role of a journalist. You see this lady, man? You asking questions, you putting microphones in my face, bruh. I can never be that type of journalist. One solid elbow. Back up. One solid elbow would make her rethink approaching people in detrimental times. Bang! But of course, that's assault. Then you get another charge. What are the cases? Of course, I'm not inciting or promoting violence. But I'm saying, man, you got to learn how to watch out for people's space, bruh. It's like, yeah, you're doing your job, but your job is risky business, bro. Like, understand these are some tense situations. So you rushing around me, you see I'm trying to get to the vehicle to get up out of here. You're coming around me, putting a microphone in my face and asking me questions that you know I can't answer. You know I'm not going to be able to answer the question. But here you are running and alongside me, man. One solid elbow. Bang! She'll never do it again. Again, I'm not inciting violence. But yeah, all jokes aside, I do know this is a very serious situation. Of course, if you guys don't know, Karmelo Anthony was the young teen that was at a track meet. A few of his classmates and an altercation broke out between him and another student, where he is now claiming that in self-defense, he pulled out a knife and stabbed another young man at this track meet under a tent facility at school. Altercation brought out whether he was allowed to be sitting there, whether he wasn't allowed to be sitting there. The initial narrative that I first saw when this first came out was that this was just a malicious attack. Kid was innocent, this, that, and the other. Why was he sitting at another school's under the tent, of course, at the track meet? Of course, what are the cases? Why was he there? This, that, and the other. Other stories that have now followed after that are now saying that Karmelo Anthony was acting in self-defense and that the young man who lost his life at this track meet was actually the bully, the antagonist in the situation. Folks, it's always crucial situations where, one, a life is lost, two, a young life is lost. Of course, all lives matter in this situation, of course. But when young students, of course, that you see people who have not had the liberty, I guess, or the ability to live a fruitful life, man, somebody lost their life in this situation, right? A young man now is released on $250,000 bond in hopes of being able to, plead his case in self-defense, whatever the case is. It's a lot of high emotions, a lot of high intensity, high emotions, whatever the case is. And of course, this is going to go to court now. Of course, where did this come from? Again, I get this over from Fairbuck over on Twitter, saying that 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony has been released on a $250,000 bond following the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf, right? This happened out there in Texas. So I do know that's a story that's been sweeping the streets as of late. Condolences to the family who lost their son. I believe it was two brothers, of course, at this track meet, of course. Twin brothers, I should say, at that as well, too. And the one brother, of course, has now lost his brother due to an altercation. Whether he was the protagonist or the antagonist in the situation, the court will decide. I just hope that justice is served, right? In all these situations, folks, I always try to wait for the facts to come out, right? Because, of course, when you hear stories like this, you get the initial reaction. You hear the news, what are the cases, and there's a lot of emotional intensity that goes off, and people, start, throwing out accusations, this, that, and the other. But, of course, hopefully, if our legal system does exactly what it is supposed to do, and, of course, it gets to the bottom and is able to find some type of justice within this whole situation, then that's the verdict that I'm most anticipating in the situation. Again, I try not to speak on things that, one, I'm not always the most knowledgeable, two, things that are also, still happening in real time. Facts have still yet to come out for the most part. People's lives are lost in this situation. A family's distraught and in distress right now. So I'm trying to be sensitive to those things as well too, and make sure that I'm speaking in a manner that's not leaning in favor of one party versus the other. Let the facts come out, let the motions settle, and we'll be able to make a clear, concise judgment on what should be the fate of this young brother, Karmelo Anthony, moving forward. That's just my take. Of course, if I come across anything in regards to that, I'll dive in a little bit more. But that's just all I have for now at this moment. Brother's out on bond, and the judge and the jury will do the rest. What else we got?